Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the mentorpodcast.com. If you're tuning in for the first time, go register so we can get you a reminder every Wednesday, and you can go back to our archive list, which has a ton of very, very quality podcasts on it. I have with me today Franco Perez out of California, and he's going to talk to us about how he makes money in the mobile home and park industry. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm excellent. So I don't know anybody that knows more about you than you. So I'm going to let you tell them who you are and your story, and I'll fire some questions at you.
Sure. Yeah, I guess a bit about myself. I came from, I grew up in the Philippines, moved over here at a young age. And I was put in this weird and fortunate situation in housing where my parents split up. I had to immediately drop out of school and start supporting my single mom and my younger sister. So I worked 2 jobs, collect cans, that type of thing. But that being said, I realized the importance of housing and how difficult it is to be a low income earner and just try to survive, especially in like an area like where I was at. I'm in the Silicon Valley, where housing's very difficult and real estate's very hard to reach. I remember growing up hating kind of the world because it's kind of unfair how the wealthy get to benefit from real estate, while if you're making low income, you just have to continuously pay landlords and that type of thing. Long story short, I got into becoming a real estate agent eventually. And then from there, I established myself. I was able to sell real estate. But after a long while, I really kind of started to hate real estate because inside my heart, it didn't feel right. I felt like I was just helping the wealthiest people I can help get super nice investment properties. And I had to tell the people that were in my shoes when I was in the most need, I had to tell them, hey, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have to either make more money or come up with more money. But right now, I can't really help you. So that to me put this huge pain in my body that I just couldn't do this anymore. So I really wanted to pursue something that would help people that were going through the struggle I went through in the past. And from that, I tried doing lobbying with the government. I hated that. And then I accidentally stumbled across mobile homes. And from what I came across thinking was like trailer trash was something, I had all these stigmas that people had. I come to find out that I realized that these are actually, quite nice places. And it's actually a perfect place. And we noticed that there are low income families that are able to stay in expensive areas because they are living in these mobile homes in great neighborhoods, and they're able to go to nice schools because they're in these neighborhoods. And then I expanded on that and come to find out it's such a great stepping stone for people that can't yet afford real estate, that want to get out of that rental rat race and start their journey to ownership and financial security. So we built a business around getting people out of the rental rat race into understanding mobile homes and allowing people to get into mobile homes and then be able to, in the future, to sell their mobile home for real estate. So that's what we're doing now today is we're helping people transition. And then we also became famous because we're constructing old mobile homes into beautiful manufactured homes today too. So that's pretty much a summary about us. And it's what we're passionate about now is showing the world how this can really be a huge financial tool for those that are low income that need housing in these expensive areas.
Did you just say that you're manufacturing your mobile homes as well?
Correct.
Or are you remodeling old ones? Which is it?
It's starting with new. So to be honest, we do the whole spectrum. So we help people that have old ones if they want to remodel it, yes. But our main focus is actually, we find it more beneficial if you take the old one out and put a new one in because there's a ton of benefits. adding square footage, better insulation, better fire safety, all of that, and you can essentially raise the value. You can spend you'll gain more in equity than what you spend to replace an old one with a new one, which is quite fascinating. And a lot of people, like you said, don't understand that this is an option.
Yeah. So what is your mission now? Buy mobile home parks or just buy mobile homes or both?
Well, really, our focus is really getting more people to understand that this is an option. We do partner with park owners to help develop their parks into nicer communities. And it's only really in the near future that we're starting to see a lot of growth in the mobile home space. Private equity is starting to understand how these work. And then, we're starting to realize that this is good for society and the government. So with that, our real focus is building awareness, and also enabling other markets to be able to copy and do what we're doing, which is, helping people transition into mobile homes and also converting older mobile home inventory into new ones.
Um, I got a commercial mastermind group, and one of the fellows in that group has got 5 mobile home parks now, and he brings in new ones and then sells them to the owner, and they rent the pad. But he has to have interest accruing, I believe, while they're sitting there, thinking you're building your own, then you're bringing them to your own park, so you control the whole process. That's not a bad idea. But in fact, you can actually build them so they don't fall apart, can't you? I
Yeah, yeah.
I bought a new one down here about 2 years ago now, and I swear that thing is falling apart. I mean,
Mm.
cracks are developing in between the door, and just such a junk job they did of building it. And you can't go down to Home Depot and buy the stuff to fix mobile homes, can you?
No, no, you can't. I mean, it's getting more and more advanced. I think the problem is like that's what part of what we're doing is we're helping the industry wide be more universal to
Mm.
being able to have similar parts as like the Home Depot and that type of thing. But yes, with the old problems, there's homes, the thing is that every region has its own different level of quality that they build, right? So we're fortunate enough to be in like an expensive California area where quality is probably the highest when it comes to manufactured housing, and that's what we're focused on. But I do help in like areas like Atlanta, Chicago, where manufactured homes still have that poor quality type of construction, and how do we build up those standards so we as
Yeah,
an industry be able to be better known.
yeah.
But yeah, it's all a work in progress.
Okay. So where does your chief income come from, Franco? The pad rentals or where exactly?
Yeah, so I mean, in summary, our business is kind of like a three-part business. It's one is a brokerage, so we help people in the transition, buying or selling. That's one part. The other is the construction element, where hey, people come to us, mobile homeowners will come to us with an old mobile home. They want to replace their old one with a new one. So that is like a micro development that happens for a mobile homeowner. And we do that at scale throughout the coast of California. And then the third part is kind of like our park ownership consulting. So we help park owners be able to do, how do they get their old inventory or incentivize owners to be able to get newer homes, which becomes a shared benefit for the mobile home owners and the park owners as well, because their park gains value because it's prettier and has more retention, and also the residents are happier and their equity gets gained as well.
So you can start with a mobile home park that's full of junk and scrape it and spruce it up and then start bringing new ones in there and selling them with owner financing and tie them to the lot rent literally and just go from park to park and control the process. And you got all brand new mobile homes in there. That's got to be a mobile home park that's top of the quality list as far as the city and the city government sees it. And because you're in control of all of it, you can also control the numbers. You make more money selling the mobile home or just collecting pad rent?
So On the, I don't actually make any money on the pad rent. It's more like the consulting and helping the residents or the park owners.
So you don't own the park?
Not, I'm only a shareholder in a few parks, but I don't own a full park myself personally.
Well, why not?
It's something that hasn't been a huge focus of ours at the moment. I think when our vision, I know this sounds cliche, but I think our vision is more on trying to create the impact for the families that are like owning these mobile homes, and that's really been our primary focus. We've made good money doing so, and
Yeah,
now it's not the numbers of the dollars and that type of thing. It's but the numbers of families that we can help kind of transition. And that's
yeah.
really been our vision within our company.
Yeah, but if you don't take care of your numbers, then you're not going to worry about somebody else's numbers. You got to make money. I get it. All nonprofit organizations are not nonprofit. They still got to make money to survive and help others. How long have you been doing this?
This is our fourth year in business.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
All right. Do you teach people to do what you do?
yes. Yeah, that's part of our, I mean, a lot of our stuff is on our YouTube channel. We show how the construction's being done. We show how you're able to gain equity as a mobile home owner and be able to whether benefit from using financing and be able to gain your net worth through getting out of renting, through owning a mobile home, through upgrading your mobile home, and then being able to transition into real estate.
Yeah. Well,
So I know that both of us are kind of in the space of trying to help others gain wealth, but I think one of the big things for us is that, or that I've realized, is like that first step is oftentimes the hardest and most difficult and scariest step. Once you own real estate, it's a lot easier to get your second or third home.
yeah,
But that first home is really where I find the biggest problem is, and that's through my own experience myself, right?
yeah,
So, and yes, we do, I also benefit from other forms of real estate to secure like my family wealth and that type of thing. But it is important to me to help others be able to make that first stepping stone a lot easier. Because the truth is, the way the future's looking, that entry level to getting into real estate, what used to be very possible 20, 30 years ago, is now getting more and more difficult, and that step is getting further and further away. So
yeah.
that we need a stepping stone or more steps in between to be able to reach that American dream of home ownership,
Right.
right?
And
So
of course,
that's really been our focus, and that's why we work with governments to help understand this, and that's why our business is really financially focused on helping the family element.
yeah, and the higher the inflation rate and the higher the interest rates are, the more people need done, the cheaper living than homes, especially in California. Not cheap to live out there, is it?
No, no. And I could talk numbers if that helps too. But generally, like in our area in San Jose, I mean, it's kind of a unicorn area compared to most of the country, but these numbers the ratios are kind of the same in any metro area. But in my area of San Jose, an average single family home is about like $1.7 million for to purchase, right? An average rent for a family of 3 bedroom, 2 bath is somewhere around $3,800 a month, which is very hard to pay. And
Yeah,
even with two incomes, it's very difficult to one day, be paying to how do you save up when you're putting all your money into housing? And if you wanted to compete in buying a single family home, you'd have to come up with, let's say, or 10% of that home. That's $170,000 you'd have to come up with, right?
mhm.
Now, if you can never reach that, if you're continuously doing what you're doing, it's very difficult to reach that. Now, if you have a stepping stone in between, and what we found is mobile homes is a perfect stepping stone in between because you can get a new mobile home for about $350,000 but your pay, how does that pay structure work, right? So the down payment, you'd only have to come up with $35,000, and your mortgage and space rent together, you're paying about $4,200 a month. So for just a little bit more than what you're paying for a full rent, where in full rent we don't realize it completely goes away. You don't get any of that back. You don't get any equity. You don't get any credit benefit, but you can use a loan to purchase one of these mobile homes in a community. And over time, they go up in value, which is a lot of people believe is the opposite, but they've gone up in value because of the density in the area. And with that, they're able to pay down their loan, they're able to build their credit, and 4 years later, 3 years later, they sell their home and now they have equity and money that they've been able to save to be able to one day purchase that single family home element, right? But
Yeah.
So many of us are so focused or so focused on one day I'm going to make a large lump sum, or I'm going to make like 3x what I'm making, and I'm going to be able to afford a single family home, which the truth is it doesn't happen. A lot of people are waiting for a crash to happen where real estate is going to be super affordable, and it unfortunately is pretty unrealistic. But it's sad to say, but that problem that I talked about is only getting worse and worse. It's getting more and more difficult to construct more housing. Our population's growing. The cost of creating housing is getting more expensive. And it's a huge problem that our governments aren't as focused on as they should, right? And part of why I love manufactured housing is because we're able to keep quality housing at a much more affordable rate. We build, everything we own, cars, laptops, have been built in an assembly line in a factory, and that's how we've kept it affordable. Now, that's exactly what we're doing in transitioning old stick-built homes on site, which cost a ton of money of labor and transportation. We're now doing that in factories and building it on an assembly line and building it at a much more effective rate. And at the end, we have a very good quality home that at a fraction of the cost, right? So that's where this industry and this space is really focused on, and what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, that makes sense. Did you say a mobile home out there costs $350,000?
Yeah, out in San Jose, yes. And I don't want to scare people from that if it's like if it's not in your area. Like I do consulting in Austin where it's similar ratios, but the numbers are different, right? Single family homes could be 600,000, rent is like 2,000, and the manufactured homes are like 150, right? So what's the normal thing though? It is that in between a full rent model to a full ownership model. It's that stepping stone in between, right? And then
So,
and to show you another level, we just constructed a home in Southern California near Malibu. That manufactured home we built sold for $1.2 million,
get
which
out of
is
here. Well,
insane.
that was on land though.
No,
Uh,
no, is it in a mobile home park?
$1.2 million for a mobile home?
Yeah, yeah.
Christmas. Uh, what do you do different in that one than you do a $70,000 mobile home here?
Well, you can check out our YouTube channel. You'll see it. It's like waterfall quartz countertops. We have that exact home on our YouTube channel. You can see it, but we really try to push the stigma and how beautiful it could be. We did this huge, large, single slope, 12-foot high ceiling home. But
Okay.
this as well as I do is it's not always like how we build it, but it's the real estate is tied into the location. So in that area, the average real estate home is like 4 million and up, right? Or 5 million and up.
Yeah.
Whereas, and for that, you have a lot of people that want to have their family live nearby or that type of thing. And affordable housing is even worse than we can imagine. And this becomes that perfect solution for people to stay in that area. And governments are starting to realize that, and they're starting to protect parks a lot better. And it's become the great solution to affordable housing, if you ask me.
I'm still trying to get over 350 grand for a mobile home. How big of a home is that?
What's that?
That's a double wide, I assume.
It's a double wide, 1,500 square foot, 3-2. You have 12-foot high ceilings.
Man. Uh, so what's from stopping me from trucking a mobile home into California that's a fraction of that price.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like the logistics of doing that, there's value in it. If you're providing value to the market, if you're providing affordable housing to an area that really needs it, that's where businesses are able to thrive.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, that is what we're doing. We're also building homes, some of the homes that we're building in California in more affordable markets, we have to build them out of Arizona or Oregon just to save costs. But part of the expense is the transportation cost. So that's kind of one of the big problems. But in the end, anything that allows for you to build a more affordable home in an expensive area, you understand just as much as any entrepreneur understands that there's value to be made and there's benefit to be made because a family can buy one of these and it's still at a huge value and discount compared to the alternative of rent or the alternative of a full purchase of a single family
Yeah.
home.
Well, I'm in Florida, and they do not appreciate here. They depreciate rapidly, I might add. But that's kind of depends on what builder builds them. But I mean, I don't know. It's definitely tied to the area. But I didn't even know they made a $350,000 mobile home, man. I never heard of one that price. Well, of
I'm
course, I
not
don't know.
kidding you, and that's our average. So
That's
so
your average.
yeah,
Gee,
yeah.
that's a lot of money for we call them wobbly boxes.
Yeah, I mean, it is a mentality a lot of people have that this is something that's a depreciating asset, that's a horrible quality. And the truth is that, like I mentioned earlier, each region it's a little bit different. Our focus is in high density areas where housing is very difficult, and that's where the
Yeah,
nature of this makes a lot of sense,
that's pretty
right?
much your whole state, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you're starting to see that growth again in like a lot of other metro areas like
yeah.
Austin, like Atlanta it's becoming very big. Um,
Well, that's true right now in any large city across the country, for now anyway.
mhm.
And I don't, we're not going to have we're not going to have a housing market to where the buyers are not going to be able to buy them, but we are, I think, going into, we have I think a 4 million shortage on houses in this country right now, which is, I
Yeah.
think, the reason that the house market is still staying up there. But I've been at this for 43 years now, Franco, and there ain't never been a year went by that somebody ain't selling and somebody ain't buying. No matter what the interest rates were, the economy was, or who was president, it doesn't matter. All people always need a place to live, and you are providing that affordable housing uh, to where they live. So, to most people, I don't even know how people can afford to buy a house anywhere right now unless they're in a high income bracket. I
That's
don't know how
exactly.
anybody even near minimum wage can buy any home of any kind.
Yeah.
There's got expenses to buy food and all of that stuff. All right,
Yeah.
well,
And
you tell me that you don't have any training on this, what you do, other than we're talking to people.
yeah, with us, it's really just broadcasting everything, all of our information publicly on YouTube, on our social media and Instagram. That's really where all of our stuff is. We don't charge to kind of train, but
Yeah,
we do partner with people that want to do our stuff, kind of like in other areas.
sure. So do I. All right. Okay. What if I forgot to ask you that I should have asked you?
Nothing. I think the key thing is really for people to understand, you touched on a lot of the great things and I think with what you mentioned, the truth, from 40 years ago or 30 years ago, what we've realized, what's true is like with the minimum wage or an entry level job, you used to be able to qualify for and purchase a regular home, and
Yeah.
that used to be the normal thing. But we know the facts of what's happening now, and it's getting more and more difficult. And like you exactly said, is that if you're not in the high income bracket, you cannot benefit from real estate anymore, right? And that the hard truth is that with labor getting difficult, there's no young people. We're not getting enough young people that work with a hammer that can help construct housing. it is a huge thing and a huge focus of why we go on these shows is to build that awareness that this is a serious issue that we have to address, right? And I don't want people that were in my shoes back then to lose that sense of the American dream of home ownership.
Right.
And that's really our big focus is allowing people that want to be able to build wealth to still have access to build wealth. Because if it's only the rich and wealthy that can, this isn't the same country that it used to be.
I've been through 6 downturns, with the biggest being 2008. And again, and none of those years went by where we weren't buying houses. I see you as, I think the market's going to go toward you because most of the people in this country do not have high income and there are very little choices left. I don't know whether they're going to come to Northern California or not, but they're going to have to downgrade their idea of what the American dream of home ownership looks like because they don't have enough income. They come to me to get the income. So when I get through with them, they don't need you anymore. They go buy a house. All right. You got one thing you want to tell our audience before we go, putting you on the spot here, because we didn't rehearse this, did we?
No, we didn't. Well, I think the key thing is just that whole understanding of, one thing about our focus and like we touched on earlier is I know there's a lot of people out there that do investment stuff with you. For us to just kind of be aware that there's also, an energy in being able to help people. That's something that's helped inspired me to build this business. And it really has been about helping people. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are chasing that money. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But I think, at a certain level, what might re-energize you is to be able to find a place where you can help build your business that you're providing an enormous amount of value for people. And that's helped me be more driven, be more wealthy or whatever it is, but more energy to getting our team to be able to keep growing. And I just want to inspire people out there that want to do that same thing, that it can be done, right? So that's probably where
it can be done if you want to get it done. And if you're willing to open up your brain and let the stuff come in and, not complain and bellyache about everything. And I can tell you from experience, most people that are your age or younger, they just don't know how bad it can get, man. They haven't lived through the hard times. So many of them feel like that they're entitled because they live in this country. This is why we see all these immigrants coming in here and start with absolutely nothing. And next thing you know, a few years later, they're doing very, very well because they know how bad it can get, where they came from. So anyway, your message is great, sir. I'm glad that we finally got together and had a chance to talk. You belong to the family group, right? The mastermind group. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you at the next one of those, I guess.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time today. Good message.
Yep. And thanks for having me. Have a good one.
My pleasure.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.